So, welcome everyone to the Men's Yoga Podcast. We're starting a new segment here. We got my brother Zach here, and he's going to be joining us and on these new episodes. And then we have Swami Chidanand. I said that wrong. Did I say it wrong?
No, you said that right. No, it's all right.
I was challenging you to see if you were listening. That's what I was doing.
Yeah,
That's fine then. Okay. So,
But yeah,
Hari Om.
Hari Om. We just met Swami at an event not too long ago, but we've crossed paths a couple times at some kirtans, and you put on a wonderful event with us at Church 444, and we're excited to kind of have you on here and start these new sessions with you, and you can share a little bit your wisdom, knowledge, and yoga with us. And
Sure.
yeah, and at the start of this,
pleasure.
yeah, thank you for doing this. And the start of this podcast, to start this new these new sessions, we just want to get to know a little bit about you, and so the listeners can tune into you a little bit more and and ride the vibe. So yeah. So to start, again, thank you so much for joining us on the podcast. And I guess tell us a little bit about yourself, where you're from.
I'm originally from India. As you can see, I'm pretty brown. And I lived in UK for some time, and I was the name that was given to me by my parents is Rahul, which is the name of son of Buddha, which also means the end of problems, or maybe a solution. And that is one identity that carries with me all the time. And my spiritual name is Swami Chidanand, which means eternal bliss, which was given to me by Sadhguru. And I've been into different practices. I've had different teachers. I've trained with Sadhguru. I've trained with Omanand. I've trained with Paramanand. I've trained with Brahmakumaris. And I've trained with Osho. So having said that, what was the driving force behind getting all these things, or what is my main idea, or what do I basically do, is I try to be a scientist for magic, if you say. And there's this magic within all of us, whether we are living, non-living, organic, inorganic, because even doing nothing, we are still doing a lot of complex things. We turn bananas, which we eat in the morning, into ourselves over an afternoon. Evolution takes that to happen millions of years. So there's definitely a magic which is happening within us, even the non-organic things like stones or rocks. They are held at a very specific arrangement. Some make crystalline, some may be metallic, some may be something in a bit of mixed state like plasma. And how is that happening? So that was the first question that was coming in my mind. And you are pretty much aware of the Nadi Yoga, or the yoga of the vibrations, I guess. When I was very young, I recall that when I was walking through a corridor, or I was basically walking near a door, I would always touch things. My parents, my family, even my wife, who was my girlfriend a long time ago, they always were asking, why are you touching everything? Why are you trying to carry all the germs and stuff like that? But I feel that I was trying to see something as if I was blind. I was trying to see something, or touch something, or experience something which was not in my perception. And my the most powerful way of knowing something is, I guess, by touching it. I like to ground. I like to walk barefoot on the ground, and I understand a lot of things by doing it. And the first thing, I see yoga in a different way. For a lot of people, yoga is poses. For a lot of people, yoga is the meditation. But and if you ask anybody, like, what's the first picture that comes to your mind when you think of yoga? It's pretty much a bearded man standing in tree pose or maybe sukhasana, and he's doing his sadhana, right? And he's trying to be everything and nothing. In the pose, he's trying to be observer, which is the Raja Yoga. He's trying to know himself, which is the Gyan or the knowledge. Now, knowledge is not only from books or narration. There's a whole abundance of knowledge within us. It might have happened to you or anybody that you sensed things. Somebody was lying to you and you knew they were lying to you. How did this knowledge come to you? This is your inner knowledge, which comes out of different energies or sometimes due to trauma, sometimes due to good energy, sometimes due to happy energy, sometimes due to fear. It triggers. And then there comes the devotion. The yogi is devoted. He's not moving. He's not being bothered. He's not bothered to eat. He's not bothered to drink. All he's doing is breathing. And that is one type of sadhana, but it's not necessarily one way. What yoga and our Indian culture primarily advocates is inclusion of everything and removal of boundaries. It's a very complex thing to say that, oh, you should have boundaries, you should have something, you should have a layer, but the only way you can be limitless is having no boundaries. And when you don't have any boundaries, you can only exist as one. You cannot be different from the tree or insect, which is walking around you or standing around you, because you're the part of the same universe. And to come to that realization, there were a lot of factors which were in playing subconsciously and accidentally, I would say. Having said that, like, it's World's Women's Day, and I would like to mention my mother, because I don't think I would have been what I am today if it wasn't her. My mother never taught me anything. Whatever skills I have, say carpentry or life skills or management skills, it's all from my father. He was always scolding me. He was always trying to make me and mold me into things he wanted me to be, which is not a bad thing. He did what the best he can to his understanding. He used to take us to pilgrimages. He used to take us to tours and things like that. And even he wasn't aware what he was doing, but he was doing it. But my mother, she played a very important role in my making, or in anyone's making, as a matter of fact, because every day she would cook for us. She's not getting paid. She's normally educated. She's not having a very high qualification. She was never qualified in yoga or anything or any stuff. But all she was doing, she was devoted. She was devoted to cook and nurture us. And this was the bhakti towards making us what she wanted. I see there's a statue behind you of Ganesha, and if you have read the story of Ganesha, how Parvati made Ganesha in her own image with her own sweat and dirt and everything. So this is what my mother did. when she was feeding us, or when she was taking care of us, she was doing this. She was transferring her energy of curiosity. She's a very curious person. She likes to taste new things. She likes to experiment new things. She likes to get her hands dirty with plants. She can grow literally a 12 feet banana tree in a pot. So these kind of things she was transferring constantly through her sacrifice every day, and she's still doing for my brother's children and everything. She's doing it nonstop. It's constant sadhana. She's devoted. She knew things, like she knew when it would rain. She knew when it was gonna happen something. She always had intuitions. It was the knowledge. It was the gyan within her. She did it tirelessly, not a single break. It was her karma. What made us as the Ganesha, or the bright God within us, was enlightened, just what by she did every day. And the most important of she being a nobody was always in a pleasant state. If ever we get a chance, if you meet my mother, doesn't matter what happens, she's always happy. She is not a very, different kind of personality, but you can see that being nothing is also a very pleasant state, because you can be everything. You can be a mother, you can be a father, you can be a teacher, you can be a nurturer, you can be a gardener. You do not stick to one thing. And that possibility makes you something limitless, which we did on the Mahashivratri workshop, experiencing the nothingness within us. And when I was born, I had club feet, so I was a bit crippled in that way. So out of all three siblings, I got more attention. I was fed by hand by my mother up till the age of 12, I guess. And that kind of, induced a lot of curiosity in me about knowing things, about re-engineering things, about opening things and seeing what's inside. And you cannot dissect everything to know. There has to be another way. And I was looking for a yoga studio, and I was walking to the studio, and I stumbled upon a free meditation course at Brahma Kumari's. That was my first experience. And I didn't even know what were they going to do, but I was happy to take that risk just because of that constant driving force of me getting liberated, or me getting to that state where I know something which I don't know right now. And it's a little hard to accept as well, being in the current environment, that we don't know something. It's very important to acknowledge the gap or void which is there, because until we acknowledge that gap or the void, we won't take that step going to pursue something which is not even known, or which is not even in our perspective. And that's how I started my yoga journey. And I do a lot of things. I do Raja Yoga, I do tantric and occultist practices. Having said that, it has a very bad name, but it's not always bad. Tantra means basically techniques. And even simple techniques could become into a big occult, which can induce different stuff or different desires. It's mostly related to sexual or black magic, but because that's the market, I guess. But if you see it this way, it's more of a manifesting power for yourself and for others you want to help out. And I try to also experience different cultures, including mine, and make sense like what was happening then and what's happening now, and make it more relatable for the current generation to accept it when they have been brainwashed for several years of how to be ashamed of whatever they are and how to be sticking to a closed boundary, which is not bad at all, but that's not the only way. And the only way to liberation or to be free out of this cycle is when you turn all the stones, when you pick up and experience everything. You're here to experience life, not avoid life. And once you experience everything, then you'll pass on to the next, whatever it is, in a state, in a place, you don't know. But right now, what being in a state where there's a constant or a staticness within you, around you, and that is what is you need every time. When that staticness is within yourself, it's your health. When that staticness goes a little outside in your emotions, it becomes love. When it is in your surrounding, it's your success. And when you are emitting it like sun, then you are the bliss. So these kind of things, when I learned through different people, and I tried doing it to myself, and I found that it works. I was working in aerospace, basically making weapons less than a year ago, and it also was a factor that kind of pushed me. Like, I don't want to make weapons anymore, and I want to dedicate my full life to something which is more fruitful and more life nurturing than destroying anything.
When going back to when you were a child and you were touching these objects, what is it that you were feeling? Like, were you feeling like vibrations, or what? Can you put even words to that?
So in India, I don't know if you know about it, the houses are not of wood; they are basically concrete. So when you are even touching a wall, it's actually grounding to the soil. And what I found so far about me, that I draw a lot of my energy through earth. We talk about all the constellations and all the zodiacs and everything, but we forget the main component, which is just under our feet, which is earth, which is a big magnet with molten iron, flowing inside it. And imagine how much of energy it can transmit. And I was constantly looking for that vibration and energy. I clearly remember sometimes I was very drained and I would just stick my hand to a wall and I was okay and I was doing things normally again. But not only this, I would get energy through that, but I was also getting a lot of perception about what's going to happen or how things might turn up or what will be the consequences. Now, a lot of people think there are good things and there are bad things. It's not like that. There's nothing good and bad. It's something is sync with you and something is in the opposite wavelength. It's just that. Now, if it's sync with you and if it works for you, it's not necessary to work for other person. And as long as it's not affecting anybody, you can experience both of it. And this is what I can put into words. Like when I was trying to touch these vibrations. I was trying to basically judge them at some point, whether this is syncing with me or this is not syncing with me. The moment if I see that it's draining me instead of energizing me or making me happy, I used to withdraw. And this is something we all should do in our day-to-day lives, because we will interact with n number of things, and nothing is bad, but something is a valley or a sink for you. And when you touch it, or that by touch, I'm not saying physically touch it. You touch it in different ways. You touch it with energy. You touch it with your wavelengths, and your like something just came to your house, and your house feels like all dull. So these kind of things will we need to understand, like when we need to stop them, because at the end, to blossom, say you're a flower, and if there's a weed growing next to you, you need to somehow stop that coming to your side, if because that will affect your blossom. And you should be the most selfish person when it comes to be talking about being blossoming, because when you're in the full blossom, in the full life, then only uh, you will experience everything. You will experience past, present, and future in the same time, because you'll be a watcher of all this, or the witness of all this which is happening. So I hope I was able to put it in
Yeah.
some words.
Yeah. No, that was nice. So where did yoga kind of come in to your life then, between you entering that meditation to designing or engineering weapons for aerospace?
So I was constantly working. So my yoga started coming in bits and pieces. So say, as I said, my father was taking us to pilgrimages. So there are different pilgrimages in India, especially related to Shiv. Why he used to do that, he even doesn't know that. Possibly it was something inside him which was asking him to do that. But uh, whenever we used to do such kind of a trip, I kind of observe now that we had a big amount of peace and happiness for some long duration in the family. Every family has their own ups and downs, fights, anger, everything, right? But whenever we used to do these kind of things and we were experiencing such stuff, then before going to the first meditation event, class or something, you would say, I experienced a lot of Kumbh Melas. Kumbh Melas are these are kind of fairs for the saints and sages. So it happens once in 4 years in different locations. Once in Ujjain, once in Allahabad, once in some place. So this is an event where you'll find different kind of yogis, and this is a very interesting thing to experience in one's lifetime, because uh, they all are unique. They all are energized in different ways. Some of them are aghoris who eat the flesh of the dead from the corpse. Some of them are brahmacharis, which is they maintain a celibacy and integrity of they do not eat from anybody. They do not touch from they do not even touch other people, basically. So you can see this contrast, right? Which is one eating directly from the flesh of the dead, and another person who is maintaining the purity to its full. But the energy that is transmitted or radiated from either one of them is quite identical. And these kind of small experiences kind of made me curious Why didn't I feel bad going to a Ghori Sadhu who's eating flesh from the dead? Why is that? And why is his wisdom sounds like the wisdom of the other person who's by books, who's the most ideal being? So why is that? And as slowly I experienced a lot of things, I understood that you cannot have light without darkness. You cannot have summer without winter. It's the yin yang of everything. And once you have, and you try to come to a point where you stop judging both of them, you just watch, you just see life as it is. And that's what we all need to do. Even right now, where there's a war going on, some people are taking the side of Ukraine, some people are taking the side of Russia, some people are doing some other shit. Sorry for my language, but
It's all
uh,
good. We're all human
yeah,
here.
yeah. But the thing is, we all are picking a side. We all are picking an identity, and we must understand this. Our brain works, or our energies work according to the identity we pick on. Like if I pick on my identity of Rahul, I bring solutions, anything. So if it's a problem, I'll bring solution. When I pick on the identity of Chidanand, I'm just being happy like a child. That's why a lot of people call me the kid. So if you're a father, right? You are nurturing to your children. And at that point, your feminine and motherly energies are acting, whether you want it or not. That does not make you any less of a man, but that particular identity and energy is working when you want to particularly do a certain task. Your wife, when she want to scold or protect your children, she's acting fatherly, right? And her masculine energy is working, and that does not make anything less of a woman. We have everything. It's for us to identify which one to pick and which one to activate. What identity I need to give to myself. If I need to give an identity of a friend, if I need to give an identity of a witness, if I need to give an identity of somebody uh, who's empath. So these kind of things we need to judge. And I'll tell you a recent experience. Like there was this woman uh, I met lately, and she was very confused and in a lot of trauma. And she was giving me the vibes of uh, like an opposite sex attraction kind of vibe. And she didn't just to talk to me. And I was like a bit confused because I was not quite interested, but I did felt that there was some kind of void or misorientation in her. And I immediately activated my empath identity. And once I did that, she stopped radiating that uh, opposite sex attraction towards me. And she was more like a disciple immediately. And she started crying, she started telling her heart out, and I just did nothing. I just listened to her, and that was her whole therapy without even knowing. But it helped her in every way. Sometimes we do not know, so which knife to use. If I give you a knife to sew a cloth, you cannot do that, right? You need a small knife for doing precision work. You need a bigger knife for other things. You need different kind of sandpapers for different kind of finishes. But we try to rub everything with the same kind of tool. Like if you have a hammer, I'll hit with everything. So that is something we need to stop doing. We need to understand that there is another possibility or reason behind somebody acting some way. I'm not very friends with my own brother, to be honest. And he's the least fed child of my mother. Like he always used to eat from himself. And there was a time in life I was quite the enemy of him. But now I see that he was deprived from the every meal that my mother used to give us. Not because my mother didn't give him, but because it was his own wish to eat his own food in his own way. And that is a big difference between like all of the, like my sister is very sync in with me because she was also fed till the age of 7 8, and she completely, if I say something, she'll understand in once. And but if I say anything to my brother, he'll never will be always on the negative, the other wavelength. And when I understand this, I stop hating him because it's not his fault. It's not his fault he lies on another wavelength. It's just how he is. And if he is like that, he's meant to be like that. That's it. And all of my problems solved.
Do you
So,
think
yeah.
think that energy transferred from your mom to you to your sister in comparison to your brother, do you think that was a physical exchange of energy? Because I mean, she obviously loved you all, and but like you were saying, how there was a difference between the feeding, but then there was this almost this love and this bhakti within your mom that was transferred to you. Do you think it was through like the physical touch of that?
Yes, I would say that to a greater extent. And not only that, as I said, I was the most pampered because I had club feet. I couldn't walk till the age of 3 years. I had a lot of operations and everything. So she took extra care of me. And I'm younger, like 10 years younger than my brother.
That's what I was gonna
So
ask. What's the age difference? Are you the
yeah,
baby?
I'm the baby. So I'm the baby. So
Same. I feel you on that one.
yeah, so I got a lot of care and attention, not and this amplified more because by the time I was born, my sister was 11 years old, and it was not only my mother but also my sister doing the same thing to me. So I would say I was privileged. I had the brown privilege, if you say.
To mom.
So yeah, through mom. And as I said, she would never teach anything to anybody, but just being with her, you'll know things. And because she doesn't try to judge anything, she accepts everything as it is. And that is what yoga is. It's the inclusion. You accept everything as it is. When the moment you try to judge or bring a perspective or bring an idea without having an actual conversation or some kind of interaction, you are naturally creating a boundary, and the energy cannot pass through that boundary. And as I said, my brother, he was always a self-doing person. So he always ate his food and he always ran away here and there. And because he was very bodily strong and built, my parents even didn't care because they were not worried of him getting hurt. They was always worried of other people getting hurt of him. So, which is kind of sad, but it is how it is. And this helps me to give a closure to whatever ill I thought of him at some point. And I don't feel ashamed of having this kind of opinion about my own brother, and I'm talking about it because if I do not acknowledge it, it will still grow somewhere as a tumor, if you say. When whatever you shut down and keep in a box in your mind or subconscious, it will blow up like a volcano someday. And whether it's your desire, whether it's your life, whether it's your work or whether it's a relationship, whatever you shut down or create a boundary or you don't want to tackle will become something of a tumor.
And we do that mainly due to fear.
Yes, we not only fear, but I think we are
Jealousy comes
ashamed.
from it?
Ashamed. Yeah, there's a lot of shame in a lot of people regarding everything, like the way they look, the way they walk, the way they do things. And I can say
Would that
that
be
I'm the
jealousy too, though? Because you have to be jealous in order to be ashamed.
now jealousy could be positive as well. So, say Matt, uh, somebody kidnaps. I don't wish that. It's just a hypothetical thing. Somebody kidnaps Crystal, right? If you do not have the element of jealousy or anger in yourself, you will never go and rescue her, right?
Mhm.
Say, I don't know if you've heard of the story of Rama, and so Rama's wife was abducted by Ravan, and people say, oh, Rama he left his wife and this and that, but he walked 3,000 kilometers in that time where there was no GPS. Now, if there was no jealousy, if there was no anger within the most calm person on the planet, which is Ram, he would have found a local solution, right? He was the most beautiful prince. He could have got any kingdom he wanted. He had all the weapons. He had the nuke of that time. And he would have found a local solution. Why to walk 3,000 kilometers in search of somebody? It's just because the anger and jealousy worked, but his anger and jealousy was for a positive reason. If he wouldn't have been angry, why would he go to rescue? So a lot of people say anger is your vice, it's a bad thing. No, you need anger. You need laziness, but to some extent, anything that overpowers you will give you problem. Even if it's love, if you're overly loving, you will spoil people, right? If you overly care, you make them spoon fed, which should never be the case. Everything should
Everything
be
in moderation, including moderation.
including moderation. So it's the shame that triggers, and we are made to be shamed of everything. And in that case, I'm the most shameless person. Like, I was not able to walk straight for half of my life. I'm shorter than my wife, and I'm still quite fair now. I was way dark. And yeah, so there were a lot of things to have shame about, but I decided that if it's if there's something to be shamed about, it's to be shamed about not trying. If you do not try, you do not know, right? You'll be regretting something when you are about to die, when your bulb is about to fuse, and that's a real shame. That, oh, I did not look into this aspect just because I was too ashamed of taking this.
Fearful. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Fear is one thing, but again, fear is just a reaction, if you say. So something has happened in past. So we fear our memory, and then we create an imagination. So this is what happens. But fear is just a reaction of being ashamed. If I told you, like, you are the most beautiful person, if everybody who comes around you and tells you, you are the most beautiful person, there's no other person more beautiful than you will do whatever you wish. You will do whatever you wish. You will start taking up the projects which you left in the box years ago.
You're making me limitless. You're making me
Yes,
believe. You're giving me the,
yes.
yeah.
The one way to do is yoga, because the most important element of out of the five elements is the element of sound, or the space. There's limited matter in the cosmos which we look at. We do not look at the unlimited space. How unlimited it is. You cannot count it, you cannot measure it. And if you compare it with any kind of spiritual religious book, and if it describes about God, it is essentially the space, because you cannot measure it. It's neither born, it's not destroyed. What can you do to space? You can put some punch in the air or space and nothing will happen. You can do all you want, right? You cannot fight against it. All you can do is be with it. When you are with this whole space and universe, imagine the whole universe is standing behind, saving you, doing things for you without even lifting a small finger. So that is yoga to me, and that is being united to everything.
When like you trained with some heavy lifting gurus there. um how was that experience? And yeah, what
Uh,
was that like? And
it was, say, I don't know if you watched Doctor Strange.
Doctor
I
Strange?
was,
Yeah.
yeah, I was an ignorant asshole like that, and I was thinking that I know everything, or at least I know something, and I
You're the
was
ultimate. You're
shocked.
the best.
Not ultimate, but I was like, I can, because I did engineering in my bachelor's, so I had this dissecting point of view to everything, so I can re-engineer everything. That was my thought process. And when I approached these people with this thing, I was shoved into the ground straight away without even they telling me anything. It was just their presence. I didn't meet Osho. Osho is just like he died day before I was born.
yeah.
But Sadhguru and my other teachers, uh, just their presence was enough to shove me directly to the ground, and I was humbled straight away without. So that everything was happening without direct point of contact, and I was so amazed to see how that can even happen. There was a lot of communication happening without being talking. There was a lot of things which were given to me or blessed to me without even asking. And I was quite amazed with all the experiences I had. And I don't know if you have read the story of Eklavya. So Eklavya was a boy back in ancient India, and he was deprived from being educated by Dronacharya. But he was a disciple who summoned Dronacharya in within himself. So when the magic of being limitless is, if I want to learn something from Sadhguru and I cannot get hold of him every day, or maybe if I want to get something from Osho and he's dead basically. So even if I want it, he cannot come. But I can summon that consciousness, that knowledge within me if I am connected to the entire universe, because that footprint of energy will remain in the cosmos. Doesn't matter what you do, it does not get destroyed. It might change its forms, it might change its way of existing, but it's there. And when you bring so much awareness and a perception within you, Plus add a whole lot of devotion. Devotion is very important, like the bhakti kirtan we do. We just don't do anything, but still it's a very powerful thing because we are devoted with all our energies. It's trying to focus. It's like a convex glass or something which focuses all our energies and radiation to one particular point. I don't know if I did experience astral traveling. I don't control it, but the people who experienced me traveling to them, they tell me that it's been 3 times, including one time with my wife. They felt my presence like I was there and I was kilometers away from them. And it's still something I'm working on, but when your energies are so strong, you can make your feel presence, make your presence feel, or you can feel the presence of someone else which you need. They might not be living. It's not like calling a ghost through an Ouija board, but it's like taking what you want. It can turn into a Ouija board if you are not careful enough. What are you asking for? Because when you're not careful enough, or so we have this saying in our religion, like Hindu religion or Indian religion. So when you ask God or the Kalpavriksha anything, you have to be descriptive. You have to tell things in very detail. There's a story that a guy, he went under the and sat under the Kalpavriksha and he asked for food. So all the good food came. He asked for drinks. All the drinks of the world came. He drank it. Nobody says free no to free food, free stuff, right? So he had it, and then after drinking, he got a bit delusional, and he said, "Who's bringing all this?" He doesn't know he's sitting under a wishing tree, and he says, "Is there ghosts?" Ghost came. Are you gonna kill me? They killed us. So whatever you wish, you have to be very careful about it. So having said that, any occult or any tantra is basically being careful in putting up the intentions to get your desired thing manifested. You can possibly manifest things without even lifting finger, but you have to be careful because everything comes at a price. Everything might have consequences, and this is what karma yoga is, that your life is your karma. If you are doing a certain thing and if you think that you would not be affected by, you can be affected positively or negatively, it's a totally different thing, but you have to take in the consideration that all of those things can happen. And when you take that, there will be literally no bad consequences because you were ready for whatever that's going to come. If I want to jump in the lake in cold water, I'm prepared for it. It might freeze me nearly to death, but I'm prepared for it. But if I go, oh, I won't freeze, I will try and jump, right? So there will be a shock in the body, right? It will release a different kind of hormones which can cause poison. So and our body reacts to everything that we think and intend, basically. Yeah. So basically, if we are intending, so why black magic is bad is because when you're intending something bad, your body is also releasing the same kind of poison. This people call me, what do you call that? Conspiracy guy or conspiracist or something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
conspiracy theorist.
Yeah, I told somebody that I never got sick in COVID, and just because I kept myself calm. because I know, and there was this lady, she had diabetes, and I gave her the same example, and she kind of, raged with me without even listening to me. So, diabetes, yes, it's genetic a lot of times, but the reason it happens is the main reason is stress. When you're constantly in stress, you'll have blood pressure and diabetes because your stress hormones are constantly releasing. Adrenaline is releasing. Your heart is pumping more. Your body is generating more insulin to absorb more glucose. Now, if you're overusing it every time and if you're not lowering your breath down, because the lower your breath, the more you live. It's simple science.
Mhm.
You will induce things like diabetes, and similar things were happening with corona because people were panicking. These hormones were constantly releasing and seizing them the basic life support which they needed at the time of corona. I just said that, and I got like all the shoes and bashes and whatnot. She said, "You are pathetic. You don't understand. Somebody has diabetes. How could you say that?" My father has diabetes. A lot of people have diabetes, and I know how it is to be with. I'm not insensitive to it, but if my father has a problem, and if I have the same problem, I'm not the evolution of my generation, of my race, right? A cheetah has to be faster than its predators, right?
Mhm.
So every new generation has to bring this awareness. So why do you do yoga? Because it's not only for you, it's also for your legacy that's coming for your children, right? You want to have them a life with where they can become everything and anything, right? But if they do the same mistake, oh, my dad had this, so I will naturally have this. You are actually asking for it,
Exactly.
whether you like it or not.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Honestly, it's just like hereditary. I was watching a doc like a few years ago, and the term hereditary, it doesn't exist
Yeah,
because there are kids who are um they were what am I trying to say here? Well, they were adopted, right? How do they have the same traits as their adopted parents when it's not genetics? It's the mind.
yeah, yeah,
It's all with the mind. When you're stressed, as you're saying, have a dessert because it's stressed backwards.
yeah.
Go
I
have a
like
dessert.
that.
Change your
I
mind. Change your thought.
my family had no club feet in my hereditary. I had it. Why? Because my mother was she's very small in height, and I was born like 10.5 pounds after the water was drained. And only if she was introduced to some kind of yoga and she would have done some kind of asanas like malasana, uh, she might not have the same problem like me growing and large, gigantic in the womb, right? And I wouldn't have club feet. So there is an explanation to everything only if we are willing to look for it. If we are not willing to look for it and if we shut our eyes,
And
so
open to
that,
hear it. That's the thing too.
yeah,
You got to
yeah.
be
So
really
basically,
open.
if you've ever seen a pigeon, if your cat runs on a pigeon, the pigeon closes its eyes, thinking it's gone. You rest of the story, you're smart enough to conclude.
Yeah.
And yeah, so that's what is happening to each one of us. We just close our
It's like the
eyes,
media.
gone.
Close your eyes. Don't look at the media. Don't look at
Yeah.
anything.
Mhm.
It's getting a bit controversial, I guess.
What made you step away from uh, your your work that you obviously spent years towards doing and just focus on yoga?
So, seeing that, especially like in the pandemic, I was earning good money, to be honest, and I was lucky enough to buy a house. I was lucky enough to do a lot of things. But just when there was this US election, this was a big, uh, like I did yoga and I was never using it. I did learn a lot of things, and I was actually not bothered enough to use it in my day-to-day life. And it was just sitting down like a gun which was never going to be used. And there was this US elections, and all of my teammates and people were trying to basically pray that Trump wins, so he'll start a war. If he starts war, we'll make more F-35 jets. And this kind of knocked me really bad. Like, I'm wishing for me, people to basically have something intent to kill other people. We do not know how bad it is until it happens. People were intending for war. Some people were intending for war who got jobless during this pandemic after Biden won, because there was no sign of war. And all they were doing was making weapons. Now, what are they wishing for? What are they vibrating for? They are vibrating for people to die.
Mhm.
Right?
Yeah.
And I don't want that. We don't want that. So I kind of manifested myself to get laid off my work. And the last day I worked was everybody was laid off and I was not laid off. And I was like, damn, I don't want to do this. Like, that day, 150 people were laid off in my factory itself. And it was very emotional for me. And I went home, I literally cried, and I was like, I don't want to work. And the next morning, I get a call, okay, you're laid off too. And I said, thank you. I'm so happy. And I was like, yeah. And then I started a different route. I started doing different things. And whatever is happening, things are working out very well. Things are happening, even if I'm not putting a lot of effort. And I'm happy about it. At least I'm not killing somebody.
Yeah. You found a path that's leading you towards something.
Yeah.
It's just interesting how your path of what somewhat of a dark path led you to the light, you know?
Yes. If that was not there, I wouldn't have
exactly
been what I am right now. So,
would have opened your eyes and your spirit.
Yeah. I would never use these things to help people. I was just, yeah, I know things. I used to go to people and I used to not talk about like what I know, what I don't know. But it was always this that I'm okay. Yeah, I know it. I don't need to tell anybody. It's a nuclear deterrent for me. I can use it sometimes.
Well, I think we're gonna probably end the podcast now. I think we probably went maybe a little bit over time, but
Okay.
I think it turned out really well for our first one, and I'm looking forward to having these and sharing your teachings and sharing conversations with people, and we'll see where this goes. And but yeah, thank you so much for your time. This has been wonderful, and we'll see everybody on the next podcast.
And before we end, can we do a Shanti mantra so that
Yes, of course.
it's
Definitely
needed right now? So
Yes.
close our eyes. Om Sarve
Sarve
Bhavantu
Bhavantu
Sukhinah
Sukhinah
Sarve
Sarve
Bhavantu Sukhinah
Sarvantu Sukhinara
Sarve
Sarve
Bhavantu Sukhinah
Sarvantu Sukhinara.
Om Shanti
Shanti
Shanti Shanti.
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 Rub your palms and put on your eyes. So we wish for everybody's happiness. That's a short one I use a lot of times.
Peace, peace, and peace.
Peace.